Welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live. Today is September 9th, 2022. We are your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. We cover breaking news, culture, memetic warfare. We will show you why only Bitcoin can give you true financial sovereignty. We have an amazing show lined up. We have a crazy lineup. We have Nick. He is the CEO of Luxor Mining Pool. How you doing, buddy?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me on today, guys.
And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Marshall Long. This Bitcoin OG was mining Bitcoin with a freaking laptop. This is how long this guy has been in the game. How you doing, Marshall?
Hey, Nico. Good. Good to see you, Nick.
Welcome to the show. And of course, my legendary co-host, the very optimistic Optimus Fields.
Well, I don't know about all that today, Nico. I am just happy to be in this conversation with all these legends around here. I'm the only non-miner in this chat today, so this is going to be a fun one. Yes, guys. All right. So in the culture, before Nico asks, I'm gonna cover some mining misconceptions that are going out there on Twitter. Hopefully, we get some sauce for you guys. So I think it's going to be a great show. I'm hyped for this one, Nico.
Absolutely. So today on the news, guys, we're going to cover the SEC basically declaring death on all shit coins. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover a Wall Street Journal. That's what I meant to say. Article by Gary Gensler himself. And we're going to cover the Poolin news about how Poolin, I don't know. Marshall has a different take on that. But we're going to cover how Poolin stopped paying out and how that led other people to find other mining pools. And we're also going to cover the news from the White House. But these are all topics that we've covered earlier on the week, but we didn't have these mining legends to chime in a little bit. And both of their careers depend on Bitcoin mining, so it affects them. So I think it's going to be a really great show. Anyways, let's get to the numbers, shall we? If I could find the thing. Here it is. Boom. Number time. Brought to you by NODL. They make some of the best Bitcoin nodes. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core, the Lightning Network, Whirlpool, and Dojo, all from the comfort of your own home. Remember, guys, if you don't run your own Bitcoin node, you're trusting someone else's. And if you're a digital nomad, you have no excuse, because now you could run a NODL through a virtual private server. Visit nodl.eu today. That's right, guys. If you don't run your own Bitcoin node, you're trusting someone else's. That's a big no-no. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is at 21,245 sats per dollar, also known as Moscow time, 4,707. Block height, 753,328. Reachable Bitcoin nodes, 14,267 blocks to the halving, 86,672. Having estimate April 22nd, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,694. Capacity value, almost at $100 million. It's at 99.7. Realized monetary inflation, taking the US dollar to absolute school, 1.78%. Market capitalization, $406 billion with a B. Bitcoin is still a baby. Anyways, what I want to talk about today during the numbers, because I want to take advantage of the news section just to ask these awesome guests some questions about mining, what happened this week. So I wanted to focus the numbers on the recent announcement by the SEC head, Gary Gensler. But before I get to that, we connect the dots for you guys at Simply Bitcoin. Gary Gensler wasn't also saying this. Cynthia Lummis said this a couple weeks ago during the BitBlock Boom conference, and I have a video for you guys. Let's check it out.
Make a lot of progress on the CFTC side, which is going to affect more Bitcoiners than, say, altcoins. Altcoins are going to all end up over at the SEC and have to struggle with the higher level of scrutiny associated with consumer protection and disclosures that the SEC is really good at. So it's easier to talk to Bitcoin people than some of the other cryptocurrencies about this, because your complete decentralization status is something that federal regulators understand.
So you heard it from the Bitcoin senator herself, and these people are obviously, and when I say these people, the SEC really mean business. They're forming a new office specifically for crypto disclosures. It says the Securities and Exchange Commission will establish a new office for cryptocurrency filings. Lamov told the audience at a legal conference in Washington on Thursday that the SEC saw the new office as necessary to address unique and evolving filings around crypto assets, the vast majority of which the SEC views as securities, which is very similar to what Cynthia Lummis says. Now, here's the article by the Wall Street Journal. I'm going to read a little bit. It says Security and Exchange Commission Chairman Gary Gensler signaled that he would support Congress handing more authority to the SEC's sister markets regulator to oversee certain cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. Mr. Gensler, speaking at an industry conference, said Thursday he looked forward to working with Congress to give the CFTC added power to the extent the agency needs greater authority to oversee and regulate crypto non-security tokens and related intermediaries. When they mean that, they're only talking about Bitcoin. However, there is a move to not only include Bitcoin, but also Ethereum as well. The only two cryptocurrencies that would be labeled commodities and not securities are going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's what it looks like is going to happen. Here's a legislation being pushed by the Senate Agriculture Committee, and they would assign oversight to the largest two cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ether. While Mr. Gensler's comment suggests that his agency shouldn't oversee Bitcoin, the SEC has said other cryptocurrencies are securities that fall under its jurisdiction and should comply with investor protection laws. Mr. Gensler has also repeatedly demanded that cryptocurrency trading platforms such as Coinbase Global Inc. register with the agency as a securities exchange akin to the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. In May, the SEC nearly doubled the staff of an enforcement unit focused on cryptocurrencies. So, specifically in the US, maybe overseas, this is the death of shitcoin trading. That's the way that I see it, right? A lot of these disclosures that the SEC is going to force certain shitcoins to do, they're not going to be able to comply with. A lot of these shitcoins are vaporware. There's nothing behind them, right? And instead of what normally companies are required to disclose, because they're creating a token, they found a way for a long time through this loophole to basically sell these shitcoins to the open market. And here comes regulation, I guess, which as a Bitcoiner, I'm not a big fan of, to be honest, but I think the writing's on the wall, man. I think that the days of just releasing an ICO and just selling it to the public are over, specifically in the United States. Now, because it's cryptocurrency, could that mean that a lot of the shitcoining flows overseas? I think so. Maybe this isn't going to shut them down, but I think in the US, it's going to be very difficult for an American citizen to buy a lot of these shitcoins, right? It's just the reality of it. I think that, unfortunately, Ethereum was included there as well. I think Ethereum is going to be spared. I think they have a lot of lobbying power. But, dude, I would say Ethereum is a security, man. The fact that Vitalik could snap his fingers and then change the entire protocol really looks like it. As Saylor said it the other day, the fact that the Ethereum Foundation could kill the entire Ethereum industry, that doesn't sound like a commodity to me. But, I mean, dude, it is what it is. You know, what really moves Washington is money, right? So, interesting. I think that the battle to come in the next 5 to 10 years is really going to be between Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I think Ethereum is really going to double down on the fact that it is so-called energy saving through its proof of stake mechanism. And that's going to be a tremendous amount of FUD. That's where I see this going. But in terms of the other shitcoins, man, I think the party's over for them. Like, I don't think it's going to be very easy to buy a lot of these and trade a lot of these in the next 5 years. Anyways, Nick, what are your thoughts? And then we'll move on to Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the entire industry is coming under more scrutiny, especially not just through the SEC, but we've also got the executive branch is now looking at mining, and I think that overall we're going to have to make sure that everybody in all of these industries have to cross their T's and dot their I's, especially with this extra scrutiny. Now, when it comes specifically to altcoins or shitcoins, uncertain what's going to happen to them. It doesn't matter to me too much, but we'll end up seeing, I guess.
Yeah, Marshall, what are your thoughts on this?
In general, I'm not a fan of altcoins just as much as anything else. However, I'm less of a fan of regulation. So anytime Big Brother wants to come in and tell people what they can and can't do, I think that's a net bad. I think overall people should be allowed to make mistakes that they want to make. That's what I'll call it. So anytime somebody's trying to come in and say, here's what you can spend money on, here's what you can't spend money on, that's a net bad. I see it akin to what happened pre-Bitcoin with the online poker stuff, where a lot of it went to the Caribbean, a lot of it went to Europe, a lot of it went to Eastern Europe. You might see a similar thing happening here if that does pan out the way it's looking like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is just going to force this entire shitcoin industry overseas. And what it is, it's really just locking out Americans, right? That's really what it is. It's not actually stopping the thing. It's just locking out Americans from being able to buy said shitcoins. But, being a libertarian, I completely agree. Why is the government getting to dictate what I can and what I can't do with my money? If you want to buy a steaming pile of shit, so be it. But I mean, I think as an American, you should have the freedom, the liberty to do that. Why do I need big daddy government to step in and make that decision for me? Not to mention the required bureaucracy that's going to have to increase in order to enforce this, right? Anyways, Opti, what are your thoughts, brother?
Well, I was just about to say the same thing. Not a fan of the government telling me what to do, but hey, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and the American laws, I guess, are pretty clear. Like, stop making securities, and you won't get regulated like a security. So it is what it is. But I do like how Cynthia Lummis says, spreading the signal that Bitcoin is the true decentralization, and Bitcoin has the true decentralization in it built in the code, which makes it different. There's Bitcoin and then there's shitcoin. And furthermore, Nico started the meme of ETH is Fed coin. So that's kind of why we see it slipping through the cracks, man. Remember, JP Morgan and co owns a substantial part of ETH infrastructure. So there's money backing it. And as Nico said, the more money backing it, the more political pool it has. So I mean, it is what it is.
ETH is the base layer of CBDCs, man. We were actually talking about that yesterday, so it doesn't surprise me. But anyways, let's get to the meat of the show. Let's get to the news. Daily news. Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make some of the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, from node cases to key rings to the vents on the back of your ASIC for air management, and of course the famous 3D printed Bitcoin grenade toy, which comes in any custom color your heart desires. You want it in gold, they make it in gold. And you can take advantage of the promo code down below to get 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. All right, guys. Here's the press release by the White House. The report, Climate and Energy Implications of Crypto Assets in the United States. Just a little bit of a refresher. Per President Biden's executive order, the White House Office of Science and Technology submitted its report on Bitcoin mining's climate impact. The report alludes to possible executive orders and legislation from Congress to limit or eliminate proof-of-work mining. Some of the cited resources have been criticized for biases to certain industries and spreading misinformation. Now, I know what the Bitcoin Policy Institute guys did. I love David. He's a great guy. And they have a more optimistic approach, but then I saw this, right? And here is comparing the different consensus models, or the consensus, whatever. There's proof of work, there's proof of stake, proof of capacity, practical, Byzantine, fault tolerance, different mechanisms, I guess. Now, what's really interesting is if you go here, if you go to security, they said that proof of work is high, security is high, but for proof of stake, high and high, which is latency, medium to high, low to medium, throughput low, medium to high. The electricity consumption high, for proof of work, low for proof of stake. Doesn't really sound like they're weighing the pros and the cons. It sounds really freaking biased to me, which, makes me believe that this report was a little bit nefarious and really it was political propaganda. That's what I believe. But maybe I'm a little bit biased, a little bit jaded, because I've been covering this for over a year, and you start picking up patterns like New York State banning Bitcoin mining, like the country of Norway attempting to ban proof of work Bitcoin mining, even though the majority of all of the Bitcoin miners in Norway use renewable energies. Why did they still want to ban it? Right? So I believe this is a political narrative, but it is very scary that, the top of the executive branch is saying things like banning proof of work in the United States, right? That is pretty freaking scary. I think Texas is going to fight tooth and nail, like it'll become the Bitcoin Alamo state. I don't think they'll allow that. But anyways, Marshall, what are your thoughts on this, bro? This must be scary for you, brother.
Not really. I can say that at our sites in general, at Rhodium, we've had over 50 political people come, senators, Congress people, and they're all about it. Let me tell you what large-scale Bitcoin mining does. It's huge job creation. It's massive infrastructure creation, incentivized infrastructure creation. In Texas specifically, there's a lot of renewables, wind and solar, that make the grid, you can say, quasi unstable. That being said, you've got a lot of issues that mining is solving, and Texas as its own ecosystem, I think from a political standpoint, has fully embraced the narrative that Bitcoin mining is helping stabilize the Texas grid. Nationwide, I think let's just say they try to institute some kind of ban. It's going to be very hard to pinpoint anybody. Take China, for example. There's still, in my estimate, 5 to 15% of the network still running in China, just not massive 400 megawatts in one place. I still have many friends that are still mining in China, and they're doing just fine. So I think that the reality is, I don't think we'll get to that point. If we do, enforcing that is going to be implementation nightmare. So I think you won't see the data centers get pressured first. I'm more interested to see what Nick thinks, because I think your first point of pressure is going to be on the service providers like Nick and the team at Luxor.
Nick, you wanna hit that?
Yeah, it certainly would seem like there's more pressure here. We also, pools by their nature have more data. If you go after, say, one of the big pubcos or somebody like that, that's just a single data point. Pools certainly have more data. So it would be a natural place to put pressure. As of now, haven't seen anything yet, but certainly, making sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's, because I do see that coming our way. What Marshall mentioned, it is net beneficial to the grid. In overall, Bitcoin mining is going to become one of the reasons that we catalyze a new energy future for not just America, but for the world. America most likely will continue to push the envelope. But right now, it's going to be a really easy target to point at Bitcoin miners, especially when Europe is going to go into a deeply unstable winter, as people are going to start getting cold, and they're going to see all these miners running and say, let's make sure we shut those down so we can use that energy, when it's actually relatively not that much energy. It just happens to be very concentrated and very visible. There's a lot of ways that I can see, this winter becoming a bit of a Rubicon moment for Bitcoin, and specifically Bitcoin mining.
Absolutely. And one of the theories that we came up with on the show, Marshall, I want to get your thoughts on this. We made the case that perhaps Bitcoin mining will go the route of the marijuana industry in the United States, where on a federal level, it might be, the federal government is hostile towards cannabis, but on a state level, they don't care, right? California has a giant cannabis industry. Do you see, hypothetically, Texas perhaps taking the same path? We know that Greg Abbott, Ted Cruz are huge proponents of the industry. Do you see Texas becoming a sort of Alamo for Bitcoin?
Texas in general is kind of, don't regulate me type state. I think if that were the case, you get a lot of pushback from grids that need it. Texas being... I think you could argue a strong point that Texas needs Bitcoin mining in order to be a fully functional grid. The nature of the ERCOT grid is that it's an ad hoc participation. So it's got inefficiencies, but that has spawned efficiencies to cover those things. Incentivizing infrastructure is one of those things. I think if you turned off, in my estimate, about 2 gigawatts of Bitcoin mining in Texas, Bitcoin is a very small percentage of the overall usage of the Texas grid. especially given that many of the facilities are in places where nobody lives. West Texas, not a lot of people live there. There's a good amount of Bitcoin mining going on in West Texas. So I think if there was an executive order where the states were somewhat compelled to comply, you could expect a fair amount of pushback from Texas specifically, because Texas kind of needs it at this point due to the nature of the deregulated market that is ERCOT.
Gotcha. And that deregulated market is a huge attack vector. You see that in the media. They're always bashing it. But it's funny because California is regulated to high heaven, but you can't say that it has more stability than Texas. I would say it has a lot less stability. So, yeah, man, interesting. Nick, what are your thoughts on that, man? Do you believe that certain states that benefit tremendously from Bitcoin mining are willing to stand up to the federal government, similar to the cannabis industry, and saying, hey, no, I don't want that?
Yeah, I mean, Texas has always been like Marshall said, a don't regulate me state, and I think that by getting in deep with Texas, Bitcoin miners have made a really strong strategic move here. Where if federal regulation does start coming down, Texas is going to turn around and sue the federal government right away, because they're really they're incentivized by that economic activity happening within their state. Riot Blockchain, good example. They're very public about participating in this free and open market by taking electricity from the grid when it's not needed and then putting it back on the grid when it is, and actually making a profit by providing by doing this. It can look somewhat predatory what Riot is doing, but they're crafting a really strong narrative that what they're actually providing is a service. And I think that they're doing a really great job. And I'm sure that there are other miners doing this on their grid. I just know that Riot is one of the more public, and they actually put it in their filings and things like that. So,
is that narrative strong enough to stop the onslaught? Because the legacy media loves to attack Texas because of Bitcoin mining.
What do you think, Marshall?
I think Riot's a good example, Nick. They've done a good job of painting the picture of what large-scale mining does. Riot themselves, they employ several hundred people from a otherwise decimated population from an aluminum smelter that the EPA shut down. So that's a perfect example of what mining at scale can do to otherwise impoverished areas that, frankly, the government hurt, right? So say what you will about, let's say, a paper mill or whatever. When the EPA shuts it down, that local community is dead. People flee, or people are just stuck in poverty. And mining is going to these centers and really bolstering tax revenue for the places, giving people skilled labor, teaching people how to become, better at their jobs. And we do that at Rhodium too. We've got many people who were tradespeople who are now in high-tech positions and now have been given other skill set. And Riot in particular does a great job of painting that picture. And I think it's one of the reasons that it's going to be really hard to ban Bitcoin mining, simply because you're literally going to be taking tax revenue away from local municipalities and skilled jobs from people in those communities.
Absolutely. So moving on to, yes, but this is the separation of money and state. So I wouldn't put anything past the state. Anyways, to kind of change topic a little bit, I think we covered that really well. Let's talk about what happened earlier on the week. Marshall, you were a bit vocal about this, the pool-in situation. Just to preface it a little bit, then I'm going to pass it on to you guys. This happened earlier on the week. Pool-in, one of the largest Bitcoin mining pools, suspended withdrawals from wallet service. The pool-in hash rate fell from around 10 to 11%, and it's down to 4.88% last time I checked. Clearly, Bitcoin miners are pointing their hash rate to other pools. Everyone wants to get paid, right? So, Marshall, what is your perspective? What happened there, my friend?
Sure. So, first off, it's important to kind of recognize what pool-in's done in the industry. And Ethan at Luxor did a great job of kind of breaking that down on his Twitter, and I recommend everybody to go check it out. The pool-in CEO started at Bitmain 2013. That's when I met him. Been friends with him for a long time. They've run a great service. Them specifically, they mentioned they have a liquidity issue. I think you can read into that many different ways. Here's what I'll say. anytime a pool goes down in some form or fashion, miners will vote with their hash rate. That is why, one of the reasons why Bitcoin is so decentralized, even though there's a few selection of pools, I as a miner can almost instantly vote by putting my hash rate somewhere else. And that's what you're seeing. When people don't get paid out, they go to another pool. I'm sure the guys at Luxor have received more inbound than previous months. So that being said, here's what I'll say. With that in mind, if you simply turn your pool from PPS to PPLNS, I want to give a good disclaimer here that what Poolin and Luxor and many of the other large pools do is not what everybody does in the form of payouts. So what Luxor and Poolin and almost every other large pool does, they run a payout schema called PPS, pay per share, which you can think of as a theoretical payout, meaning that the pool soaks the variance of mining luck up and down. And it takes an incredible balance sheet and incredible treasury management to do that. Hats off to the guys at Luxor and everybody else doing this payout mechanism. They'll smooth payouts for miners, and the pool in turn soaks the variance, the statistical probability of hitting a block, both up and down. So there has to be a war chest in order to do that. And in general, pools that don't do that are following a payout schema called PPLNS. So effectively, you get paid out when they hit a block. So pools like Slush Pool are a good example of that. So what I'll say is they are not like every other pool where you just pay when you get paid. And that by itself, if you run bad luck back to back to back to back, and I'm sure Nick will go into this further, running a FPPS pool or a PPS plus, whatever you want to call it, pool is not for the faint of heart. It is a gut check at times, and it's awesome at times. So that's the differentiator here. And what I slammed people on Twitter for was people saying, oh, pull in switch from PPS to PPLNS. That's why you should only mine to Slush. That's a false narrative. There might be other things behind that, specifically with pool in. However, switching your payout mechanism exclusively from PPS to PPLNS doesn't really mean anything. That just means that the pool might not have the stomach to weather the variance storm that comes with running that type of payout mechanism. Very few pools run an automatic switch. I know Titan Pool does this automatic switch. Nick and I were talking about this last week. That's somewhat unique, that when their reserves fall below, they automatically switch over to PPLNS. So I wanted to make that segregation. Beyond that, look, running a business in Bitcoin when the price is going down and the difficulty is going up is hard. Period. End of story. And you know, I'm not going to speculate about reasons or why Poolin may have done this and done that. I'm just trying to give facts and a level base to talk about like the reality of running a PPS pool.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, and actually to you know, what we actually covered this early on the week and we said the same thing, right? Obviously I didn't use all the, you know, the technical terms like you did so well, Marshall, but yeah, we said, you know, if you want what I said, profit stability, right? For a pool to provide that, the reality is that they do have to shoulder the variance, right? That's just the reality. And look, if you've been Bitcoin mining for a while, dude, you can get very unlucky for a good amount of time. Of course, if you average it out over a long period of time, it's pretty steady, right? But you could get unlucky for a while, and that could be painful. I'm going to pass it on to Nick. Nick,
yeah.
What Marshall was saying, you guys provide what I call profit stability. Maybe that's not the correct term. How do you do that? How do you shoulder the cost for your clients or the people that mine with you?
Yes, so we run, as Marshall mentioned, we run FPPS, which means we pay out for the expected value of your hash rate, whether we find blocks or not. What that means is we have to have a really large bankroll to ensure that we're able to weather those variance downswings. If you were a miner mining at Slush right now, over the last 6 months, you would have mined probably 6 to 8% less Bitcoin than you would have if you had mined at Luxor, just because of variance in their payouts. The thing is, if Luxor were to have been bearing the brunt of that quote unquote bad luck, you would never notice, but our downturn would be, you would see our hot wallet balance decreasing over time. But then, when things get lucky and we hit a lot of block, like recently, August was an incredible month. September's also been an incredible month for Luxor. You'll notice the hot wallet balance going up. But that is mostly just a war chest for us to pay out from over time. So that's a bit about how FPPS and PPLNS work and why you use it. On our tax filings, we put that Luxor is a variance mitigation service. Like that's what mining pools actually do, is they aggregate everybody's hash rate up and reduce the amount of variance in mining rewards. Specifically to Poolin, I can give a little bit more context because I'm a little bit more going to be maybe a bit more objective than Marshall. They haven't paid out since the 21st of August, and then they also. But they didn't announce that they were turning off payments until about 6 days ago. So that's certainly not a very transparent, also not very good service. They also turned off their ETH payments. I don't know, we don't really talk about ETH here, but and then have been moving around, tens of millions of dollars worth of Ethereum between different lending protocols. It's hard for me to unwind it. I don't really know how to unwind these like ETH contracts that well, and I don't really care to. But otherwise, it is interesting to see that BTC or that ETH being moved into those protocols and not moving out to miners' wallets. Leads me to believe that there is some sort of lending issue happening here. They announced a partnership with Three Arrows Capital as well as BlockFi, both of which have liquidity issues. So maybe they have a loan locked up there that they need to that they're trying to claw back. Uncertain exactly what's happening there, but there's definitely something going on. They haven't paid out in, now close to 3 weeks, closing in on a month here. And the wallet has a lot of Bitcoin in it. It has over right now looking at it has 3,038 Bitcoin in it. They mined 8 blocks yesterday. They've mined 5 blocks today. They're still mining a lot of Bitcoin, but I don't know why it's hard to speculate about why it's not being paid out. And what are the future plans for all of that Bitcoin? That's $65 million worth of Bitcoin currently.
Marshall, do you want to speculate on that? What are your thoughts, brother? If you feel comfortable. If not, I have another question.
I mean, in general, I don't know all the ins and outs, right? I've talked to Kevin, I've talked to Denny about it. And I think Nick's conclusions are pretty right on. They're right on the money as far as I can tell. I've not dug into the chain as much as I'm sure Nick has. But at the end of the day, my biggest point is it doesn't really matter. I'll give you another example. In general, as a pool, and I'd be interested to see if Nick agrees with this or not, hash rate kind of begets more hash rate. So an example, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, OKCoin pool, OKX pool, whatever it was called, announced well in advance that they were going into maintenance for a week. They had some bugs in their code base they're going to fix. They were a huge pool at the time. They went off for a week, came back on, nobody came back. So the beyond what kind of issues Poolin may or may not have, at the end of the day, miners are going to mine where they can get consistent payouts. And that's the whole point of this decentralized mechanism of mining in Bitcoin. Although there might only be 10 or 15 service providers in the form of a pool, I can vote with my hash rate. So if I don't like what Poolin's doing, I don't like it. If you were on top of the ball and you knew that you didn't get paid out, your opportunity cost is only going to be effectively 1 day of payouts. It sucks, yes, but it's not a rug pull in the sense that you put everything into a DeFi contract and there was a bug and it got ripped away, whatever. Mm-hmm. You had a maximum, if you're a good operator, a maximum of 1 day that you lost your production of, and then you should have switched to another pool. Anybody else that's still on the pool is either a speculator that they're going to be rewarded. I know Kevin's publicly said that he's thinking about doing like an equity offering to people affected and whatnot. But in general, if you're a good miner worth your salt, you probably should have switched the day that you didn't get paid. Mm-hmm. Period. End of story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I think we covered that Thanks, Opti. I think we covered that really well. They're also bleeding into Opti's culture segment.
We're good, bro. That was sauce. That's what the people want. They want
that
the mining
was
sauce.
That was pure sauce. That was pure sauce. Really appreciate it. Guys, we've had some misconceptions, and Opti's done great research. We're going to clear those up. Let's hit the culture. Let's do it. Daily Culture. Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. Swan incentivizes self-custody, and they also incentivize dollar cost averaging. Spread out that risk. Visit SwanBitcoin.com today. Guys, I also want to give a shout out to Pacific Bitcoins to be the largest Bitcoin conference, November 10th through 11th, Los Angeles, California. Speaker list includes Corey Clipston, Lynn Alden, Jeff Booth, Dylan Leclerc, Pierre Richard, Eric Cosson, Mark Moss, Alex Gladstein, Dr. Jeff Ross. Somehow Nico's on there. You can take advantage of the promo code simply to get a discount on Pacific Bitcoin.
All right, guys. Well, first and foremost, we have a lot of home miners out there, and there's been a lot of sentiment out there that maybe there shouldn't be home miners, maybe it's not as profitable. And I found this tweet from Nico. This is June 12th, 2022, and he goes, "If you started mining the last 2 years, you are now earning your stripes. If you survive to the next halving, you will be rewarded." And I know we got home miners in the chat right now. So what's your guys' thoughts right now? I have another tweet from Marshall. I will get to that one, but what maybe give the people out there, just the home miners out there, maybe some encouragement, and I don't know, just what's your thoughts right now on home mining and whether people are going to make it through this bear market or not?
In general, I'll say, look, being a pleb miner at the home is what Bitcoin's all about. Every large scale miner that I know started there. They started with graphics cards or a laptop or a crappy little grid seed ASIC. Every large scale miner today started there, and it's a big part of being part of the Bitcoin community. You running your own ASIC, even at a loss, there's several benefits. Non-KYC Bitcoin, no matter how you get it, mining at home makes you a part of the true decentralized nature of Bitcoin. Even if you're running at a loss, there are several ways to kind of rationalize why you would do it. It teaches you a ton about how the network works. Maybe you lose your ass on it. If you hold that Bitcoin long enough, you're not going to lose your ass on it. It might be 2 years. It might be 5 years. But everybody I've talked to ever has always regretted selling their Bitcoin from the beginning of time. And that is not going to change in the near future or even in the distant future. So when you're mining at home, keep grinding. Even when the wife tells you to turn it off, you tell her to go dry her hair at her boyfriend's house because you're getting these biddies.
I love it. I love it.
Nick, you want to hit that?
Yeah, I mean, home mining is certainly, be honest with yourself when you're going in. You're not going to be competitive with Riot and Marathon on a per dollar basis. Per terahash basis. But what you are doing is you're producing KYC free coins. You're producing coins that have been generated directly from the blockchain, which is incredibly powerful. You can also use your Bitcoin miner for a lot of different things. You can, I use that as a space heater in the winter. You can put some firmware on there and reduce the clock speed in the fans and make it basically, just a space heater. You can then also have like the most modular space heater ever produced. Like that thing can go from being a 100-watt space heater to a 1300-watt space heater. It's really, really incredible. So I would certainly say that you should, like almost any Bitcoin miner should be mining a little bit at home, just because of the flow of sats into their wallet over time, and then also producing those KYC free coins.
Boom. That's a great response.
Nico, let's get your thoughts, dude. You're a miner. Come on. Give the kids some more sauce.
About mining at home?
Yeah. You got anything to add?
Bro, when I first started back in the day, I converted an entire, a closet in a guest room. I made holes in the wall to vent the hot air. And dude, you could hear the buzzing sound from the living room in my house. It holds a very special place in my heart. Obviously, I'm not doing that anymore. Now we have the black box, right? It's incredible. You could have it outside. definitely mine at home. I always tell people when you're starting, run an S9. Don't get into it with thinking, because this is the number one mistake that I always see people is they think they're going to get rich, you know? Don't get into it from that mentality. Get into that from the mentality of I want to learn. And what tends to happen is you either love it, you get addicted to it, and then you start asking questions. And inevitably that question leads to, I'll never be able to get a good, attractive power cost at my house. And you either look and then you get into the whole thing of, oh, if I host, but you're like, if I host, I'm not going to get below 7 to 8 kilowatt hours. Maybe if I get very lucky. So eventually, you start looking and, you get lucky, you get a facility and whatever. But that's kind of the rabbit hole. And I know Marshall knows what I'm talking about. And I know Nick knows what I'm talking about. So overall, it's a good experience. It's something that all Bitcoiners should experience. It's something that most Bitcoiners, though, don't even know exists, which is the actual infrastructure behind Bitcoin. You'll learn something, guarantee, and the process, you're going to get a deeper appreciation for Bitcoin itself. That's my thought.
Boom. All right, guys. Here's one more. I got another tweet here. This is Marshall Long's tweet, and I'm going to wrap this into a tweet we got tagged in by Mr. Hodl. Well, he didn't tag us, but someone tagged us in the tweet. So I'm going to read this for the people in spaces. This is Marshall Long's tweet. And it goes, Bitcoin mining difficulty pumping, price dropping. This is where the real legends of mining will be born, and the LARPers will be massacred. And as you know, we just kind of covered that in a little bit. But the tweet that we got tagged in is Mr. Hodl, and he goes, remember when some new people thought price follows hash rate? So maybe you guys could put your thoughts on the idea. Does price follow hash rate, or does hash rate follow price?
Marshall.
I think in general, for the people who run highly efficient mining ops, and that includes CapEx management, OpEx, the whole gamut, those people will be the miners of last resort and the energy consumers of last resort. And in that paradigm, you can say that hash rate, price follows hash rate. However, anytime the price runs, everybody and their dad thinks that they're a genius miner and then they can just plug in a machine and they're going to be rich. And then ultimately the difficulty goes up, those people get rinsed, and the OGs in the space are still here doing their thing. So because of that complete dichotomy in the current and the past state of mining, it's hard to say. I will say that that's been the case since 2013. That continues to be the case now. Anytime the price runs, everybody and their dad thinks that they're a genius. And then when the price takes a hit, everybody gets fleeced except for the people who really built for winter, Jon Snow style. Instead of trying to be the hot person on the beach, chilling in the summer, you built for the winter. And now you're reaping the rewards. So as those clowns and amateurs fall off, the real G's stay on, and they're reaping the benefit of mining more Bitcoin than ever before.
Boom. Nick, you want to hit that?
Let's go.
So, hash rate follows price, bottom line. It doesn't matter what anybody says, hash rate follows price. Price goes up, more hash rate can be built. That's why we're seeing all-time high hash rates and difficulties right now. But this is actually, most of what we're seeing now is from the pump up to 60K, over 65K. It takes a long time for mining facilities to get built. This is still this amount of hash rate that's coming online now is still from all of the investment that was made by all the pubcos, the billions and billions of dollars that they raised last year when Bitcoin was over $60,000 per, and mining margins were the highest they've been since before the S9. This is still the remnants of that. Now, who survives? That's the most important. Who was frugal enough? Who spared themselves the frothiness and didn't buy machines at $120 a terahash and didn't lock themselves into 9-cent hosting contracts? Who was able to see through to the long-term vision and realize we're headed back to an 8 cents per terahash world? And what does it mean? What does my operation need to look like when we get there?
Boom. Yeah, and I agree with you, man. All the leverage that was taken out to buy miners. Holy crap. That was interesting to say.
I mean, it was crazy, but it was, I mean, it was really smart too. I mean, you had the opportunity to get really cheap money, and companies like Marathon are still living off of that. They went and raised money at super low prices when Bitcoin was really high, and now they're able to weather this storm. A lot of people thought Marathon would have gone bankrupt by now because of how much leverage they took out and how little hash rate they have online, but they were able to get such cheap money that they're going to be able to ride this out. So they actually start to look quite intelligent for taking
I wouldn't. So yeah, I wasn't really criticizing the companies that took. I was criticizing the actual lenders that thought that was a good idea. That's who I'm talking about.
Yeah, the amount of lenders that have stopped offering lending services kind of paints that picture very well. And I'm not going to name any names, but when you offer lending to companies and your recourse is to repo 50,000 servers, where are you going to put them? You can't run them. You can't mine them. They're just a depreciating asset sitting in a warehouse. So you have no other option but to work out some kind of alternative means, and therefore to take a loss. So that the financial sector and the geniuses that were when Bitcoin was running hot are really the ones paying the price right now.
Yeah, 100%. Opti.
Boom.
What do we got next, brother?
One more. I do have a few more, but we could do one more. This one might be a little more speculative, guys, and I'd like to get your opinions on this one. The rumors out there of like Bitcoin's boiling the ocean. Bitcoin uses too much energy, but I'd like to get your thoughts on the idea of, does the Bitcoin network have enough hash rate if we are to battle against a nation state attack? And I have my little tweet right here where it's me joking. I say this all the time. It's the soundest ledger in the world should use more energy. This is a feature, not a bug. So, in your opinion, is there enough hash rate on the Bitcoin network to withstand an outright attack from multiple nation states? Or is this something we just won't know? I like to say that the Bitcoin market cap is the bounty on Bitcoin, and hey, we're doing pretty good out there. So what's your thoughts right now, Marshall?
I'd agree that the market cap is the bounty. I think the logistics behind being able to co-opt Bitcoin with a brute force attack is just so monumental and such a huge mountain to climb. It's just not going to happen. That being said, let's just say that happened. There's many ways to kind of get around that. So I guess in general, the question is there enough security online? I think the proof is there that there is. However, Bitcoin's really good at incentivizing security, really good. And in fact, almost the most perfect way to incentivize security. And so you'll just see more and more coming online. So I think it's never going to be enough, and it will always continue to grow for many reasons. That's where I'll leave.
I think that's a great answer.
Beautiful.
Nick, do you want to hit that?
I would say that it's a lot less about the amount of hash. It's actually not about the hash rate. It's about the operators that control it. And I think right now we are very well distributed. And it would be very difficult for a nation state to control any meaningful portion of the hash rate right now, just because of how distributed everything is. And we're moving towards a more distributed ecosystem and world. Texas is effectively its own state. We've got a lot of hash rate in Canada. We have hash rate in Northern Europe. We've got hash rate all over the Middle East. A lot of hash rate coming online in the Middle East. I've been chatting with miners in Africa. Right now, we're all over the place from where hash rate is generated perspective. And I think that we're definitely trending in a right direction. And so I think it would just be right now, it'd just be operationally impossible to take over that much hash rate.
Yeah, I'm on that same thing. I think Bitcoin miners are like water. They're going to flow to the place of least resistance. The Chinese, and this is what I say that in terms of Bitcoin's history, there was the fork wars, like the Bitcoin Cash thing, right? They artificially moved the Bitcoin Cash hash rate higher than Bitcoin twice. It was only momentarily, but still, as you're looking at that, you're like, holy crap, is that real? We know after the fact that it was artificial and they were setting money on fire to do that. But there was that moment in Bitcoin's history. And then the second moment that doesn't get talked about enough. And in my belief, I think it was a major factor in Bitcoin not reaching 100K in the last cycle, Chinese Communist Party banned Bitcoin mining in the middle of the frickin' bull market, and the price dumped from 69K, and it took a crap, and it just went down, and the hash rate also went down. Now, here's the beautiful part. Because of the incentive provided by the difficulty adjustment, dude, it recovered in less than a year without any central authority telling them to move those miners. It was what you said, Marshall. You nailed it. It was the profit incentive alone, right? So if you kind of apply what happened there and you apply it to the game theory of a nation state attacking Bitcoin, what are they going to do? You know, like, is that country going to start mining itself? Like, are they going to start acquiring ASICs, right? And if they do that, if they do manage to acquire a significant amount of ASICs, it's just going to be more profitable to mine the thing than to try to cheat, right? So I think the profit incentive alone is something that people don't, Nick, I agree with that statement. Marshall's incredibly handsome. Anyways, that being said, Opti, it's the favorite part of the show. It's the meme review, brother. Let's do it. Daily meme review.
Brought to you by Bitbox 2 Bitcoin Only Edition, a hardware wallet by Shift Crypto. Crypto like cryptography. It's secure, it's open source, and it's so easy your mom can set it up. Self-custody is the revolution, and the Bitbox makes it simple. Do not leave your Bitcoin on an exchange. Order a Bitbox today. All right, guys, we are here for the meme review. And of course, before I butcher anything else, what's Nico always say? Tweets are the bullets and memes are the artillery in the information warfare, guys. Continue to create the memes because you guys are propagating the sound money gospel. And here I found this one this morning, and I had to add it in honor of our guest today and the topics of today. First, it's a tweet by Guy Swan. He goes, "No climate officer, I'm not calculating band math problems, I'm just heating my basement." And then they got the inglorious bastard meme right here. You're calculating band math problems in your heated basement, aren't you? Shouts out to Isaiah Attorney. That was a good meme, bro. Good meme. Next one is by our buddy Rave Elevator. He's in the chat. He's dropping memes. We dropped this meme of our own, Green Dodo Gang back, when Bitcoin prints a fat green candle. And then he drops the Harry Potter meme, and he goes, "Let's fucking go. What does this mirror do, Professor? It shows us nothing more or less than the deepest, most desperate desires of our heart." And it's green candles, of course. On a day when we get green candles, everyone is happy. And this next one, Nico, you know how much I love dunking on Jim Cramer. I've told my origin story where my friend was telling me that I should listen to Hard Money because he's a Jim Cramer fan. In hindsight, that's probably the worst advice he could have ever given me. But here, in honor of the Queen, I really love this tweet. Jim Cramer just still a counter signal, and we got Jim Cramer. I bet the Queen will pull through this. Man, Jim Cramer, the ultimate counter signal. This next one's by our friend RDBTC, and he goes, "If you're new here, prepare to have your worldview smashed to pieces." And it's the train and the bus meme, and he goes, the Bitcoin is the train and the bus is your worldview, and Bitcoin just demolishing your worldviews. I said it before, before Bitcoin, I went full woke, and then I woke up once I found Bitcoin. This is the way, guys. The next one is, I'm sure there's still some Bitcoiners or quote unquote Bitcoiners that watch our show that still dabble in the shit coins. And anytime I see this meme going around, hat tip to Safe Dean, I always have to add this. And he goes, "How to decide if you need a blockchain. And do you need digital cash? No, then you don't need a blockchain. Yes, use Bitcoin, the only blockchain that works. Blockchain decision chart." I love it. And you know us, we are huge End the Fed advocates. So shouts out to my boy Joe Rogers. And it's the time of the season. We're going in this fall and the autumn, and so I just can't wait for the fall of the Federal Reserve. All right, guys. So, of course, I forgot to say, drop your meme review before we get everyone's meme review scores.
Drop it in the chat.
Do it right now. We can say it. So that we can
in the
say
live
it.
chat.
Right,
make
guys.
Opti and I feel uncomfortable.
Make Nico feel uncomfortable. All right. So today's score. Shouts out to BitMeg. She hooked me up with some swag, and I really like this shirt. So I wanna plug it a little bit. Check this shit out.
Free men don't ask. Hell
the
yeah.
back of this shirt, long sleeve shirt, that shit's fresh. Shouts out to you. Really love this shirt. All right, on to you, Nico.
Yeah, so I was a moron, and when I bought this mic, it comes with this little hinge thing, but I was like, oh, it doesn't come with the hinge thing. I need it with the mic stand. So I bought one on Amazon. It was $70 for this little plastic thing, and I didn't need it. $70 of wasted sats, and in 5
Beautiful.
years, it will be very painful.
Welcome to audio engineering.
Marshall, what was your meme score? What's your meme score?
My meme score today is going to be 69 liquid deaths. Shout out.
By the way, if you guys haven't had a liquid death, it is the best sparkling water. We don't get paid by them. It is the best sparkling water you ever had, okay? Holy crap, is it delicious. Nick,
And you look cool. It looks like you're drinking your tall
I know.
boy.
When you see that the first time, you're like, bro, what are you drinking? It's like, it's a liquid death. And then you drink, it's like, oh, it's sparkling water. Nick, why don't you give those
All
memes,
right.
brother?
Here we go. I have got this thing that Marshall sent me from Rhodium, and I have no idea what it is. It either is, I don't know if it's like for chalk, like at the gym, or like if I'm mountain climbing, or if it's like for water for the dog. I have no idea what it is, but I have it on my desk, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna find out right now. So what is that thing, Marshall?
That's for when we're all broke and poor to ask for tips on the corner of the street.
This is a bowl for
For tips.
That's
the
your
dog food
busking
that I have
bowl.
to eat.
Oh, man.
Let's
Oh,
go.
man. Oh, man. All right. Let's start reading those. Nope, not a day. It says, I give those memes Vitalik's acne cream.
Never been used.
All right, next one by Rave. I give those memes 1 gold coin from One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Interesting. All right, Le Frenchy CG. I give those memes my future bit Apollo miner. Okay. Marshall knows what that is. Diogenes. Brother, answer my email. I give those memes a Harry Potter and the Coincidence of Wants movie.
That's a play,
familiar
Nico.
with
That's a play. I see you
Okay.
confused.
Yeah. I'm kind of a moron. I give those memes
I don't know.
World Pirate Satellite.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. I give those memes the mood of Ireland and Africa today. What the fuck, guys? I give those memes an empty can of Guinness. Cheers. Okay, very good. Last one. Nope, we're over. It's done. Opti. It's time for the soft release. Let's check it out. Bitcoin software release. Brought to you by CipherSafe. Don't be that person that stores their Bitcoin seed on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage, dog attacks, everything. Your seed could be eaten by dogs or cats or animals if you store it on paper. You definitely want to store your seed on steel, and there's no better place to do it than the CipherSafe. Get yourself a Cipher wheel or a Cipher grid today. Visit ciphersafe.io.
All right, guys. Well, today we have Zeus version 0.6.6 release. I swear they're just killing it over there. Shouts out to Evan and the crew because they just keep dropping bills.
Did we cover this twice?
No, I don't think
we might
so.
have covered.
I think it was another one, dude.
It was another one? Okay.
I don't know. Anyways, shouts out to Zeus and Evan and all the crew over there because they're killing it, man. But of course, if you like what we're doing, guys, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and or on Anchor. And if you really think we're providing you guys value, we are on Fountain, and you can stream us some sats. We love you guys. We appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed the show. So much mining sauce on this show today.
A lot of mining sauce.
I know the home miners out there enjoyed this show. So let's roll this one out, Nico.
Absolutely. Before we go, I want to give a very special shout out to our awesome clothing sponsor, RepresentLTD.com. Opti, show off the hoodie. Show off the hoodie, bro. Show off the back. Show off the back. That's right. Decentralized Represent Corpse. And of course, I'm wearing the basic, the Represent Black. Has the Represent on the side. It's comfy. It's stylish. Makes Bitcoin merch. He's making Simply Bitcoin merch. You can take advantage of the promo code down below in the description to get 10% off RepresentLTD.com. I also want to give a very special shout out to our awesome guests, Nick, Marshall. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Marshall, where could people find out more about you?
OG BTC on Twitter.
Awesome. And Nick, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where could they find more about you and Luxor?
Yeah, I'm #Bender on Twitter. And then you can find us more information about Luxor at luxor.tech.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm going to put you backstage for a little bit while I close out the show. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Simply Bitcoin. Don't forget to join Simply Bitcoin's Telegram chat. All you got to do is go to www.t.me/the Simply Bitcoin channel. That's where you can link us Bitcoin memes to review. There's also a lot of based ass plebs in the chat. You definitely don't want to miss it. It's absolutely free. And check out the written form of this show by our awesome writers, Zach and Rustin. You can go to Simply Bitcoin Unfiltered. Go to www.simplybitcoin.news. Guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash the like button. If you really liked it, subscribe. And the number one thing you could do, wake people up, make them take the orange pill, is share this video. That's what YouTube likes the most. Anyways, guys, we'll see you on Saturday for the Saturday special. Saturday being tomorrow.
Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best.